Why did we need money? Because people did not trust each other. This may sound like a simple statement, but it is one of the most uncomfortable truths in human history. This is not a metaphor, and it is not philosophy. It is the foundation we must understand if we want to see how civilization was built. Long before coins, long before paper, and long before numbers appeared on screens, humans lived with a quiet but constant fear. This fear was rarely spoken out loud, yet it was present in every agreement, every exchange, and every promise. What if the other person does not keep their word? What if today's agreement is denied tomorrow? What if the effort I give is never returned? Over time, this fear stopped being a personal concern and became a social problem. Because without trust, there can be no order, and without order, societies cannot grow. Money emerged precisely at this point. Money was not created to make life easier. That is the story we are told, but it is incomplete. Money was created to make people predictable. If promises were always kept, if power was never abused, and if justice enforced itself naturally, there would be no money in our pockets today. But the world did not work that way. That is why this is not a history lesson. This is a confrontation. Before money, exchange was direct. Two people stood face to face. There were looks, pauses, and hesitation. People watched each other closely, trying to understand intentions and judge reliability. Every exchange carried risk. You never knew if what you gave today would truly be returned tomorrow. And if the other person denied their promise, there was no system to turn to. Trust was fragile. And when trust broke, arguments followed, and arguments often led to violence. Barter worked only in small, closed communities, where everyone knew everyone else, where reputation followed you, where shame still had power, and most importantly, where you were certain you would meet again. Because lying to someone you will meet again is difficult. But the moment societies grew, this system collapsed. Strangers appeared, distances increased, and people no longer knew each other's stories. Memory weakened, and promises became temporary. Needs stopped aligning. What one person needed, the other did not have. What was valuable to one person meant nothing to another, and the most critical problem was this: there was no shared measure of value. How was human labor to be measured? What was a full day of work truly worth? What concrete value could a spoken promise represent? No one knew for sure. Negotiations grew longer, arguments became more frequent, conflicts followed, and barter could no longer support growing societies. Slowly, people realized an uncomfortable truth: the problem was not production, and it was not effort. The problem was trust. That is why the true birthplace of money was not the marketplace, but the temple. In ancient Mesopotamia, among the Sumerians, temples were not merely religious spaces. They were the center of society. Goods were collected there, stored there, and recorded there. Debts were written down, disputes were settled, and rules were enforced. People brought their products to the temple and did not receive gold or silver in return. Instead, they received a record. A promise carved into clay, a commitment preserved in writing. This was the first form of money. Not metal, not wealth, but memory enforced and protected by authority. Human memory is unreliable. People forget, distort, and deny promises when it suits them. Writing and money emerged for this reason. As time passed, debts grew, trade expanded, and people traveled beyond the reach of a single temple or authority. Not everyone feared the same God, and not everyone answered to the same power. At this point, a new question emerged: how do you make trust travel? The answer was found in metal. Gold and silver were standardized, their weights fixed, and official marks stamped onto them. That mark was not decoration, and it was not an aesthetic choice. It was a warning. It said that power stood behind this value, and breaking the rules would have consequences. Here, money made a silent confession: without authority, money is nothing. From that moment on, money and power became inseparable. Life became easier, but it also became colder. Before money, exchange was personal. People looked each other in the eye, responsibility was visible, and shame existed. When money entered the system, distance followed. Relationships became impersonal, and responsibility became blurred. Eye contact was no longer necessary, and a new sentence was born: it's not personal. It's just business. This sentence could not exist before money. Metal money also had limits. It was heavy, visible, and dangerous to carry. So money evolved once again. In China, value was stored, and paper moved instead. That paper had no value on its own. It could not feed you, and it could not protect you. Its value depended on one thing only: belief. Trust in the system and trust in the authority that upheld it. Money detached from physical reality. It stopped being something you held and became something you accepted. An agreement. Today, even paper is disappearing. Money is invisible, untouchable, and abstract. Numbers on screens, signals moving through systems no one fully controls. And yet, the question has never changed: do you trust this? Money evolved. Human nature did not, and here is the most uncomfortable truth of all: money did not corrupt people. Money revealed them. It exposed fears that already existed, amplified desires that were already there, and rewarded behaviors that power already favored. Money was born from distrust, grew from the need to record, and was shaped by authority. That is the history of money. Everything else is decoration.